Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're attempting something pretty monumental, trying to really get our arms around the phenomenon that was Michael Joseph Jackson.
It's a huge task.
Yeah.
I mean, calling him just a singer or a dancer just doesn't capture it, does it?
Not even close. We're talking about a 4-decade career that fundamentally shaped, well, everything. Music, visuals, the business side of entertainment globally.
Exactly. The king of pop. And honestly, the sources we've gathered really position him as one of the most significant cultural figures of the entire 20th century. It's not hyperbole in this case.
Absolutely. Singer, songwriter, dancer, philanthropist. The list is long. So our mission today is to trace that whole arc for you, the listener, using the incredible depth of material we've compiled.
We'll cover the unparalleled highs, the intense controversies later on, and this legacy that frankly is still unfolding financially and culturally.
So let's dive right in. Part 1, the genesis of a prodigy. Where does the story even begin?
It starts a long way from the global stage. Gary, Indiana, August 29th, 1958.
Right. Michael Joseph Jackson. And it was a big family, wasn't it?
Huge. He was the 8th of 10 children, a working-class African-American family.
And the living situation, according to the sources.
Pretty basic. Reports say a tiny 2-bedroom house on Jackson Street, actually, for, 12 people.
Wow. Humble beginnings is an understatement. What about his parents?
His mother, Catherine, was apparently quite musical herself. She played clarinet and piano, worked part-time at Sears, and was a devout Jehovah's Witness.
And his father, Joe Jackson. A complex figure in Michael's life.
Extremely. Joe was a former boxer, worked as a crane operator at U.S. Steel, but his real passion seemed to be music. He played guitar in a local R&B band, the Falcons.
And he saw the musical talent in his children?
Oh, definitely. Michael and his older brother Marlon officially joined the Jackson Brothers Band in 1964. Michael was only 6.
6 years old. What did he even do?
Started out playing congas and tambourine, just backup initially.
But this is where that difficult aspect of his childhood comes in, isn't it? The discipline during rehearsals.
Yes, the sources are quite clear on this. Joe Jackson enforced incredibly strict discipline. Michael, later in life, described it as significant physical and emotional abuse.
He talked about his father sitting in a chair, belt ready for any mistake.
He did. And Joe Jackson himself, well, he acknowledged in interviews that he regularly whipped Michael and his siblings.
The psychological impact seems immense. Michael described feeling deeply lonely, isolated.
Absolutely. Struggling with that, the pain versus his father's role in actually launching his career, it's a tough thing to reconcile.
But we should add, for context, the perspective of the older brothers, right? The sources indicate they sometimes saw it differently.
That's true. They often framed it less as abuse and more as intense, necessary discipline. They argued it kept them focused, kept them out of trouble in Gary at that time.
So a really complicated family dynamic right from the absolute beginning.
No doubt. But the talent, especially Michael's, was undeniable. By 1965, the group became the Jackson 5.
And Michael stepped up to lead vocals.
Sharing lead with his older brother Jermaine initially. But yeah, this is where Rolling Stone later said his overwhelming musical gifts really started to show.
And their early success wasn't immediate primetime TZ, was it? It was built on the road.
Exactly. The famous Chitlin Circuit. That network of venues, mostly in the East and South, catering to black audiences during segregation.
A tough proving ground.
Incredibly tough.
Yeah.
They toured the Midwest relentlessly, opening for huge names like Sam and Dave, Gladys Knight, and the Pips. You had to be exceptionally good.
And that hard work paid off.
It did. In 1967, they won the notoriously difficult amateur night at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. That was a major turning point.
Which led them to Motown.
Yep. Signed to Motown Records, relocated the whole family to Los Angeles. Diana Ross famously introduced them to the public in August 1969.
And then superstardom, almost instantaneous.
It really was. January 1970, I Want You Back hits #1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
And that was just the start of the run.
It's just the beginning. Over the next year or so, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There all followed it straight to #1. 4 consecutive #1s. Unheard of.
Groundbreaking for black artists crossing over to that degree.
Absolutely. But even within the Jackson 5 frenzy, Motown was already thinking solo for Michael.
They saw his potential early.
Clearly. Between 72 and 75, he released 4 solo albums under Motown.
Which gave us hits like
Hits like the ballad Ben from the movie of the same name, and his cover of Rockin' Robin, keeping him in the public eye constantly.
But the Motown system, as successful as it was, became creatively limiting for them.
Very much so. The group chafed under the lack of creative control. Motown picked the songs, the producers. They weren't allowed much input.
So they left.
They did, in 1975. Signed with Epic Records, part of CBS Records, and had to rename themselves the Jacksons because Motown owned the Jackson 5 name.
A crucial move for their artistic freedom.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting, even before that split, Michael was already making his mark visually. Their 1974 hit Dancing Machine. His performance of the robot dance on shows like Soul Train helped popularize that move massively.
So that desire for creative control, that visual flair, it all sets the stage for his solo explosion.
Perfectly. Which brings us nicely into part 2, establishing solo stardom and that Thriller tidal wave.
Right. So, the Jacksons are now at Epic Records. What happens next?
They continue touring internationally, releasing successful albums like Destiny in '78 and Triumph in '80. Michael really takes over as the main songwriter for the group during this period.
Songs like Shake Your Body, Down to the Ground came from this era. Right.
Exactly. Co-written by Michael and his brother Randy. Big hit. But the pivotal moment for his solo career happened, interestingly, through a film.
The Wiz, 1977.
That's the one. He starred as the Scarecrow alongside Diana Ross as Dorothy.
The film itself wasn't a huge success, though.
No, it was box office disappointment, actually. But the connections made were invaluable.
Because that's where he met Quincy Jones.
Precisely. Quincy Jones, already a legend, arranged the film's score. They clicked creatively.
And Jones would go on to produce his biggest solo albums.
His next 3, starting with Off the Wall in 1979.
This album felt different. It wasn't the Jackson 5 sound anymore.
Not at all. This was Michael Jackson, the adult solo artist. It skillfully blended R&B, disco, funk, pop, incredibly sophisticated production thanks to Jones.
It moved him beyond that bubblegum pop image.
Completely. It established him as a mature, innovative force, and the sales reflected that.
How big was it?
Huge. Over 20 million copies sold worldwide eventually. It generated 4 top 10 singles in the U.S.
Including
the massive hits Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You.
And Don't Stop Till You Get Enough earned him his first solo Grammy, right?
Yes, for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance. He also swept the American Music Awards that year. It felt like a major arrival.
But here's where we see that famous Jackson drive. The sources say he wasn't entirely satisfied?
It sounds strange, but yes. He was reportedly disappointed that Off the Wall didn't win the Grammy for Album of the Year. He felt it deserved more recognition.
So even with massive success, he was already aiming higher for the next project.
Immediately. He was determined, absolutely determined, to create something even bigger, something undeniable.
And that determination showed up in his business dealings, too.
Oh, absolutely. Before Thriller was even conceived, around 1980, he negotiated what was reportedly the highest royalty rate in the music industry at that time.
Which was?
An unprecedented 37% of the wholesale album profit. About $2 per album sold then.
Wow. Most artists were getting maybe half that.
If that. Securing that kind of rate at age 22, it shows an incredible level of business savvy, anticipating the massive success he planned to achieve.
Okay, so the stage is set. Ambition, business acumen, Quincy Jones by his side. Then comes Thriller.
Released November 29th, 1982. And even before the album dropped, he won a Grammy for the song Someone in the Dark from the E.T. the Extraterrestrial Storybook album.
A little foreshadowing.
You could say that. Thriller didn't just succeed. It became a global phenomena unlike anything the music industry had ever seen.
The numbers are just staggering, even today.
They really are. It became, and still is, the best-selling album of all time worldwide. Estimates are around 70 million copies.
70 million.
And in the U.S., it was the first album ever certified 30 times platinum. It spent 37 weeks at #1 on the Billboard chart. Almost unbelievable dominance.
What made it connect on such a massive scale?
Artistically, Jackson and Jones deliberately blurred genre lines. Pop, rock, R&B, funk. It was all in there. Think about Beat It, featuring a guitar solo from Eddie Van Halen.
Right, merging hard rock with dance pop.
Exactly. And it spawned 7 top 10 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. 7, including #1's Billie Jean and Beat It. It just crossed every conceivable boundary, race, genre, age.
But the moment that arguably catapulted him into the stratosphere wasn't just the album itself, it was a TV performance.
The Motown 25. Yesterday, Today, Forever Special. May 1983.
Watched by nearly 50 million people, he reunited with his brothers.
But it was his solo spot, performing Billie Jean, that changed everything.
The glove, the jacket, the fedora.
And the dance move, the moonwalk.
Which he didn't invent, but he perfected and named, right? Taught by Jeffrey Daniels.
Correct. But the way he executed it that night, it was electric. It became his signature move instantly. Everyone was trying it the next day.
The sources describe it as just stopping the show cold. The New York Times raved about his technique.
It cemented him not just as a singer, but as a transcendent performer, a visual icon.
And the awards followed. In a big way.
Record-breaking. At the 1984 Grammys, he got 12 nominations and won 8 in a single night. Still a record for an artist.
Including the big ones. Album of the Year for Thriller, Record of the Year for Beat It.
Yep. He also became the youngest artist ever to receive the American Music Award of Merit that same year.
But beyond the sales and awards, Thriller's impact on music videos and MTV was maybe even more profound.
Absolutely transformative. The videos for Billie Jean beat it, and especially the long-form Thriller video directed by John Landis. They were cinematic events.
Short films, really, with budgets and production values never seen before in music videos.
Exactly. They helped make MTV, which was still relatively new, a cultural powerhouse. And crucially, Jackson's immense popularity forced MTV to play more black artists. He broke down racial barriers on the channel.
Time magazine really captured it then, didn't they?
They called him a one-man rescue team for the music business, which was in a slump, and a singer who cuts across all boundaries of taste and style and color, too.
That level of fame naturally led to major endorsements.
The big one was Pepsi, a massive $5 million deal signed in 1983, record-breaking at the time.
Launching their New Generation campaign, using Billie Jean in the ads.
That's right. But that partnership also led to a really serious incident.
The commercial shoot accident, January 1984.
Yes. Pyrotechnics went wrong during filming, set his hair on fire. He suffered second-degree burns to his scalp.
Which required painful treatment and surgeries.
It did, and sources suggest he had his third rhinoplasty around this time as well, possibly related to managing the scarring or pain.
But he turned this negative event towards philanthropy.
He did. He settled with Pepsi out of court and reportedly donated the entire settlement, around $1.5 million, to the Brotman Medical Center in California.
Which established the Michael Jackson Burn Center there.
Correct. An early example of his significant charitable work.
This incredibly intense period wraps up with the Victory Tour in 1984.
His last tour with his brothers. Huge spectacle, massive crowds.
And again, a charitable angle.
Yes, he donated his entire share of the tour's profits, estimated between $3 and $5 million, to charity.
Followed quickly by another major philanthropic effort.
We Are the World in 1985, co-written with Lionel Richie, brought together dozens of superstars.
For African famine relief. Raised something like $63 million, right?
An incredible sum. And it cemented his status as a global humanitarian figure.
And then, almost immediately after, comes arguably the shrewdest business move of his career.
The ATV Music Publishing acquisition, August 1985. This is absolutely key.
Tell us about that. He bought a music publishing catalog.
Not just any catalog. ATV Music owned the publishing rights to thousands of songs, most notably the Lennon-McCartney Beatles catalog.
And Paul McCartney had actually advised him on the value of publishing.
Reportedly, yes. McCartney had explained how owning the songs themselves, the compositions, was where the real long-term money and control lay.
So Jackson buys it for $47.5 million after some complex negotiations.
A huge investment, but it meant he owned the rights to some of the most valuable songs in history. Every time someone covered a Beatles song, used it in a film, streamed it, he got paid.
That's a power move, shifting from performer to owner.
Completely. It set him up financially for life and beyond, really. It was visionary.
Okay, so moving into part 3. The mid to late 80s. This period brings another huge album, Bad, but also the start of intense media scrutiny, particularly about his appearance.
Yeah, this is where things start to get really complex, personally, even as his career remains stratospheric. The focus shifts heavily to his changing look.
Specifically, his skin lightening.
Exactly. It became a huge media obsession. Speculation was rampant that he was intentionally bleaching his skin.
This narrative really took hold.
It did. And it fed into this growing image of him as wacko jocko, eccentric and disconnected.
But the medical side of the story, according to his doctors and himself later, was different.
Correct. His dermatologist confirmed diagnoses of vitiligo, a pigment disorder starting around 1986, and also discoid lupus, diagnosed back in 1983, which can affect the skin.
Conditions that cause depigmentation.
Yes. Jackson always maintained he wasn't trying to be white. He said he used makeup and prescribed creams to even out the blotches from the vitiligo, which was becoming quite extensive.
He found the speculation deeply hurtful.
Understandably. But the narrative was powerful. Then there were the surgeries.
He admitted to some, right?
Yeah.
In his book Moonwalk and the Oprah interview.
He did. 2 nose jobs, rhinoplasties, and creating a cleft in his chin. He attributed other changes to puberty, weight loss, diet.
But that didn't stop the speculation about more procedures.
No. Even his mother, Catherine, later suggested he might have become somewhat addicted to cosmetic surgery, perhaps having more than he admitted. And recurring dramatic weight loss fueled rumors of eating disorders like anorexia nervosa.
And the tabloids just ran wild with stories about his lifestyle.
Oh, completely. The story about him sleeping in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber to defy aging.
Denied by him, though his manager confirmed he owned one.
Right. Taking female hormones, trying to buy the elephant man's bones. Mostly sensationalism, some perhaps fueled by his own camp initially for mystique, which then backfired.
The Elephant Man story was specifically denied by the London hospital involved.
Yes, his manager framed it as a historical interest, not an attempt to purchase remains. But the image stuck.
And during this time, he's also creating his own fantasy world, literally.
First with a 3D sci-fi film, Captain EO, in 1986, collaborating with George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola, a huge $30 million Disney park attraction.
And then Neverland Ranch.
Purchased in 1988 for about $17 million, a massive 2,700-acre property in California.
Which he transformed into.
His own private amusement park and zoo, rides, a movie theater, animals, everything, patrolled by a large security force. It became his refuge, but also, a symbol of his increasing isolation.
Yet, despite all this personal turmoil and media frenzy, his career reached another peak with the Bad album.
Released in 1987. Commercially, it was enormous. Sold over 2.25 million copies in its first week in the U.S. alone. Eventually over 35 million worldwide.
And it set a new record for singles, didn't it?
It did. Bad was the first album ever to have 5 of its singles reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the U.S.
Which were
I Just Can't Stop Loving You, the title track Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, The Socially Conscious Man in the Mirror, and the rocker Dirty Diana.
an incredible run of hits. And the supporting tour was huge, too.
The Bad World Tour broke records. His 7 sold-out shows at London's Wembley Stadium had a combined attendance of 504,000 people, a Guinness World Record.
So his global appeal was arguably stronger than ever.
Absolutely. The music video for Leave Me Alone, a clear jab at the media, won a Grammy. His autobiography Moonwalk, released in '88, was a bestseller.
Accolades kept coming. Paris awarded him a medal. President Bush called him Artist of the Decade.
And his friend Elizabeth Taylor famously introduced him at an award show as the true king of pop, rock, and soul, cementing that king of pop nickname.
And throughout this, the philanthropy continued.
Consistently. He gave significant donations to the United Negro College Fund. Importantly, all profits from The Single Man in the Mirror went straight to charity. He was officially recognized as the best-selling artist of the 1980s.
Okay, let's transition to part 4, the 90s. This decade starts with a new sound and focus, but then becomes dominated by the first major legal crisis.
Right. In 1991, he signs another record-breaking deal with Sony, reportedly worth $65 million.
And releases the Dangerous album.
Yes. 8th studio album, co-produced with Teddy Riley, a key figure in the new Jack Swing sound.
It's a different musical direction again.
Definitely.
Yeah.
More urban, R&B, hip-hop influenced, but it also had a strong focus on social issues in tracks like Heal the World, Why You Want to Trip on Me, and the lead single, Black or White.
Which was a massive global event in itself.
Huge. The video premiered simultaneously in 27 countries to an estimated audience of 500 million people, the largest ever for a music video at that time. Dangerous went on to sell around 32 million copies worldwide.
And Heal the World wasn't just a song title.
No, he founded the Heal the World Foundation in 1992. It became a major focus, raising millions to help children affected by war, poverty, and illness worldwide. He frequently brought underprivileged kids to Neverland.
His global stature was immense, the Africa trip in 1992.
Yeah, the reception was incredible. Huge crowds in Gabon and Ivory Coast. In Ivory Coast, reports said the crowds were larger than those for the Pope's visit. He was even crowned an honorary king, King Sani, by a tribal chief there.
Back in the U.S., his Super Bowl halftime show in 1993 changed everything for that event.
It really did. Drew a larger TV audience than the game itself for the first time ever. 133.4 million viewers. It proved the halftime show could be a massive draw on its own.
And then came that huge Oprah interview in February '93.
Still one of the most watched interviews ever. over 90 million viewers. It was the first time he really opened up about the alleged childhood abuse from his father.
And he publicly confirmed his vitiligo diagnosis then, too?
Yes, trying to address the speculation about his skin directly, it was a major revealing moment.
But just a few months later, the narrative shifts drastically. August 1993.
The first child sexual abuse allegations surface. Civil claims filed by Evan Chandler, the father of 13-year-old Jordan Chandler, initially demanding $20 million.
The sources mention complexity here, including alleged threats from Chandler.
Yes, reports surfaced of recordings where Chandler allegedly discussed a plot to ruin Jackson if his financial demands weren't met. But the claims were made, and authorities got involved.
Prosecutors raided Neverland Ranch.
They did, in August '93. But the sources state they found no medical or physical evidence to support the abuse claims. Hundreds of children who had visited Neverland were interviewed. All denied any abuse.
There was controversy over some art books found?
Yes, investigators highlighted 2 legal art books depicting nude minors. Jackson denied knowing they were there, suggesting they might have been sent to him unsolicited.
How is the civil case resolved?
It was settled out of court in January 1994. Jackson's insurance company paid roughly $15.3 million, plus other payments brought the total to around $18.3 million.
And the settlement document itself?
Crucially, the document stated the Chandlers dropped the molestation allegations. The settlement was officially filed over claims of negligence, not abuse.
But the public perception was often that the settlement equaled guilt.
Widely, yes. Meanwhile, the criminal investigation continued separately.
Until when?
September 1994. The prosecution investigated hundreds of witnesses, presented evidence to multiple grand juries, but ultimately found insufficient evidence to proceed. The criminal investigation was closed with no charges filed.
The personal toll on Jackson must have been enormous.
Immense. He canceled the rest of the Dangerous World Tour in late 1993, citing the stress of the allegations and, significantly, an addiction to painkillers.
Painkillers he'd started taking after the scalp burns from the Pepsi accident years earlier.
That's what he stated, yes, used for the subsequent surgeries. The stress exacerbated the dependency.
In the midst of all this chaos, he gets married.
Yes, May 1994,
Okay.
to Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis Presley's daughter, in the Dominican Republic.
Which the tabloids immediately labeled
A publicity stunt, designed to deflect from the allegations and improve his image. They divorced about 18 months later.
There's also a weird footnote from this time involving video games.
Ah, yes, unexpected. He apparently composed music for the Sega game Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in 1994.
But went uncredited.
Correct. Reasons are disputed. Either Sega pulled back due to the allegations surfacing, or Jackson was unhappy with the sound quality limitations of the game console. Some of that music later appeared in the song Stranger in Moscow.
His musical response to the allegations came with the History album in 1995.
History, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1. A double album, part greatest hits, part new material. And the new stuff was defiant.
Especially the lead single, Scream.
A blistering duet with his sister Janet. A direct attack on the media's scrutiny and injustice he felt he'd suffered. Visually powerful video, too.
And the album had immediate chart success.
Yes, the ballad You Are Not Alone became the first song ever to debut at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, a Guinness World Record.
But History wasn't without its own controversies.
No, the track They Don't Care About Us sparked immediate outrage over lyrics perceived as anti-Semitic. Lines like, Jew me, sue me, and kick me, kike me.
He argued they were taken out of context, meant to illustrate prejudice, but the backlash was strong.
Very strong. He apologized and released a revised version with the offending words masked or altered.
And amidst all this, he makes another huge business move.
Yes, consolidating his power in music publishing. In late 1995, he merged his ATV music catalog, the one with the Beatles songs, with Sony's publishing division.
Creating Sony ATV Music Publishing.
Exactly, a behemoth in the industry. He retained 50% ownership of the new, much larger entity and reportedly received $95 million upfront from Sony in the deal.
So, leveraging that initial ATV purchase into an even bigger empire.
Absolutely, secured his financial footing immensely, regardless of record sales.
Okay, let's move into the final phase, Part 5. The Enduring Machine. Later career, the second trial, and his final years.
The History World Tour followed the album, running from 96 to 97, another massive undertaking. 82 concerts, 4.5 million fans across the globe, grossing $165 million. His drawing power was still immense.
And his personal life continued to evolve. He married again during the tour.
Yes. In November 1996, while in Australia, he married Debbie Rowe, his dermatology nurse. She was already pregnant at the time.
And they had 2 children together.
Michael Joseph Jackson Jr., known as Prince, born in 1997, and Paris Michael Catherine Jackson, born in 1998.
That marriage didn't last long either, though.
No, they divorced in 2000. Roe agreed to give Jackson full custody of the children in exchange for a reported $8.5 million settlement and a house.
Even his remix albums were huge sellers.
Unusually so. Blood on the Dance Floor. History in the Mix, released in 1997, sold around 6 million copies. It's still the best-selling remix album of all time.
Philanthropy remained a constant thread.
Definitely. He organized the Michael Jackson and Friends benefit concerts in Germany and Korea in 1999, raising funds for Kosovo War refugees, UNESCO, and a children's charity.
And Guinness World Records acknowledged his efforts.
Yes, in 2000, they recognized him for supporting 39 distinct charities, more than any other public figure or entertainer at the time.
Major career retrospectives started happening around the turn of the millennium.
He received the Artist of the Century Award at the American Music Awards in 2002 and Best-Selling Pop Male Artist of the Millennium at the World Music Awards in 2000.
And the big 30th anniversary concerts in 2001.
At Madison Square Garden in September 2001, marked 30 years since his solo career began. Crucially, it featured the first performances with all his brothers together since the Victory Tour back in 1984.
Just days before 9/11, wasn't it?
Yearly, yes. And in response to the attacks, he helped organize the United We Stand. What More Can I Give benefit concert held in Washington, D.C. that October.
Then came his final album of new material.
Invincible. Released October 2001, an incredibly expensive album to make.
Expensive.
Reports put the cost at around $30 million, making it possibly the most expensive album ever recorded. It sold, irrespectively, about 8 million copies worldwide, but nowhere near his previous heights.
And the release was marred by conflict with his label, Sony.
Big time. In 2002, Jackson launched a very public campaign against Sony Music and its then chairman, Tommy Mottola,
accusing Mottola of being
a racist and devilish, claiming Sony exploited black artists and deliberately undersupported the Invincible album because Jackson wanted out of his contract.
Sony's response.
They denied the accusations and refused to renew his contract, reportedly citing the high cost of Invincible and Jackson's refusal to tour in support of it. The relationship was completely broken.
2002 brought personal news, too. A third child.
Yes. Prince Michael Jackson II, nicknamed Blanket, later known as BG, was born via an anonymous surrogate mother.
But that year also included a major public relations disaster.
The infamous baby dangling incident in Berlin, November 2002. He briefly held the infant Blanket over the balcony railing of his hotel room, several stories up, to show him to fans below.
The backlash was instant and severe.
Worldwide condemnation. He quickly apologized, calling it a terrible mistake made in the excitement of the moment, but the image of recklessness stuck and was used against him extensively.
And then the following year, the second, even bigger legal storm breaks.
December 2003. Jackson was formally charged again with child molestation, this time involving a different young boy, Gavin Arvizo, who had featured in a controversial Martin Bashir documentary earlier that year.
Leading to the People v. Jackson trial.
A media circus unlike almost anything before. The trial ran from January to May 2005 in Santa Maria, California. It was broadcast globally, dissected endlessly.
The prosecution presented its case. Jackson's defense team, led by Thomas Mesereau, countered aggressively.
It was incredibly damaging to Jackson's health, finances, and public image, regardless of the outcome. He appeared frail and stressed throughout.
And the verdict, June 13th, 2005.
Acquitted on all counts. Found not guilty of all charges.
A complete legal vindication. But the damage was done.
Absolutely. And it's important to add here, as confirmed by sources reviewing FBI files released after his death, that the FBI investigated both the 1993 and 2005 allegations and found no evidence of criminal conduct by Jackson in either case.
After the trial, he basically retreated from public life.
He became extremely reclusive, left the U.S., lived for a time in Bahrain as a guest of the royal family there.
And the financial situation became dire.
Very much so. By 2006, reports indicated he was close to bankruptcy. The legal fees, lack of income, lavish spending. His debts reportedly approached $500 million. He was entangled in dozens of lawsuits.
Even Neverland Ranch was affected.
It was closed down in 2006 to save costs. Eventually, in 2008, the title was transferred to a joint venture company formed between Jackson and Colony Capital, LLC, a private equity firm that bought out his massive loan secured by the ranch.
It seemed like the end of the road professionally, but then a surprise announcement.
March 2009, the This Is a Concert residency, planned for the O2 Arena in London.
A comeback.
A massive one. Initially announced as 10 shows, the demand was so overwhelming they expanded it to 50 dates.
Ticket sales were insane.
Record-breaking. Over 1 million tickets reportedly sold in just a couple of hours. It seemed poised to be the biggest concert event ever and solve his financial problems.
But tragically, he never got to perform those shows.
No. Less than 3 weeks before the first scheduled concert, on June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson died. He was 50 years old.
A cause of death.
Cardiac arrest brought on by acute propofol intoxication. The powerful anesthetic propofol, along with other sedatives, had been administered by his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray.
Murray was later convicted.
Yes, convicted of involuntary manslaughter in 2011 for his role in Jackson's death. Served about 2 years in prison.
The global reaction to his death was unprecedented.
Unlike anything seen before for an entertainer, the internet practically buckled under the strain. Google, Twitter, major news sites, Wikipedia, they all slowed down or crashed from the sheer volume of people searching for information.
Now, TV even went back to playing music videos.
Temporarily reverted to its original format, yeah. Showing hours and hours of his iconic videos. It was a global outpouring of grief and nostalgia.
The memorial service was a huge event.
Held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, televised globally. Estimates suggest somewhere between 2.5 and 3 billion people watched it worldwide.
Al Sharpton's eulogy directly addressed the controversies.
He did, speaking to Jackson's children, saying, "It was strange what your daddy had to deal with, but he dealt with it anyway," acknowledging the immense pressure and scrutiny he faced.
And in death, his commercial power exploded again.
Massively. In the year after he died, he sold over 16 million albums in the U.S. alone, 35 million worldwide. He was the best-selling artist of 2009, possibly.
And Sony, the company he fought with, signed a huge deal with his estate.
Yes. In 2010, a reported $250 million deal for rights to his unreleased recordings and other projects, the biggest single artist recording deal in history at the time.
And that financial legacy continues, that ATV catalog.
Still generating enormous value. Just this year, 2024, his estate sold half of his remaining interest in his music catalog, including his share of Sony ATV back to Sony, for a reported $600 million.
Incredible. Which leads us perfectly into part 6, artistry, influence, and that unprecedented global reach. Why this enduring power? Let's start with the artistry itself, his voice.
He was known as an incredibly expressive vocalist. Had absolute pitch, apparently.
Meaning he could identify or sing any note without a reference.
Exactly. His style was very distinct. Used staccato phrasing, smooth legato, a high falsetto, but also all those signature nonverbal sounds. The hiccups, the hee-hees, the growls, the gasps, they became part of the musical texture.
And he crossed genres like few others.
Uniquely, he won Grammy Awards as a solo artist in a pop thriller album, rock, Beat It, and R&B, Billie Jean, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. That versatility is incredibly rare.
What's fascinating is how he composed music, given he couldn't read or write traditional notation.
It's really remarkable. He composed entirely by ear and voice. He'd use a tape recorder and literally sing or vocalize every part of the arrangement.
Beatboxing the drum parts, singing the bass lines.
Exactly. Singing the string parts, the horn lines, melody, harmony, everything. He would build the entire song layer by layer with his voice for the musicians to then learn and play. Demo tapes of songs like Beat It apparently show this process clearly.
So the complex arrangements were all conceived vocally first.
Pretty much. An incredible display of innate musicality.
Who are his biggest influences?
He always cited James Brown as his greatest inspiration. Said he was mesmerized watching Brown perform as a child. Also Little Richard, Jackie Wilson for stage presence, Diana Ross as a mentor, and even dancers like Fred Astaire for movement.
And his music spanned so many styles.
Pop, soul, R&B, funk, rock, disco, later dance pop, and New Jack Swing. He absorbed and synthesized everything.
Beyond the music, the choreography and visuals were just as important.
Absolutely central to his artistry. He popularized street dance moves, taking things like the robot or the backslide, which he renamed the moonwalk, and making them global sensations.
The moonwalk is forever linked to him.
Yeah.
And the crotch grab, too.
Yes, that became another more controversial signature move. He commanded the stage visually.
And he even used technology to enhance the live performance visuals.
The famous anti-gravity lean from the Smooth Criminal video. Yeah. How did you do that live?
He actually co-patented a special shoe, U.S. patent 5,255,452. It had a slot in the heel that could engage with a peg raised from the stage floor, allowing him and his dancers to lean forward at that impossible 45-degree angle.
Wow. engineering for dance.
And his commitment to the music video as an art form was recognized formally.
The Thriller video being added to the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress in 2009 is huge, recognized as culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant.
His long-form video Ghosts, co-written with Stephen King, held a record too.
For the longest music video for many years, yeah, over 38 minutes. And MTV renaming their Video Vanguard Award in his honor in 2001 speaks volumes about his impact on the medium.
So bringing it all together, this level of artistry and innovation led to a level of fame that's hard to comprehend.
Truly unprecedented. Guinness World Records didn't just call him successful, they named him the most successful entertainer of all time. Sources describe his fame as being in a league of his own.
Reaching places untouched by most Western culture.
Apparently so. Reports of remote Amazonian tribes knowing his name, his music being known on tiny island nations like São Tomé and Príncipe, just ubiquitous fame.
And the comparisons made about his influence are staggering.
In Africa, people compared his impact or the crowds he drew to Nelson Mandela. In India, sometimes to Mahatma Gandhi. In Europe, commentators compare the fervor around him to that surrounding the Pope. These aren't musical comparisons, they're about cultural weight.
Even academia took him seriously as a cultural phenomenon.
The National Portrait Gallery calling him the most depicted cultural figure of the century, comparing his influence on art to that of Jesus Christ. That's a profound statement.
And being cited in scholarly papers across fields like psychology, law, even chemistry and engineering.
It shows his impact permeated society in ways most entertainers never do. Complex systems studies even identified him alongside figures like Napoleon or the biologist Linnaeus as one of history's most influential individuals based on network analysis of fame and recognition.
And finally, we have to reiterate the scale of his philanthropy.
Estimates suggest he donated over $500 million to charity throughout his life, not adjusted for inflation. His Heal the World Foundation was just one part of it. Supporting those 39 charities recognized by Guinness, he really did pave the way for the kind of large-scale celebrity philanthropy we see today.
So looking back, it's an almost overwhelming picture, from the Jackson 5 prodigy and Gary enduring that difficult childhood,
to the absolute global dominance of Thriller, shattering records, breaking racial barriers on MTV.
navigating decades of intense, often brutal media scrutiny, dealing with health issues, fighting two incredibly public and damaging legal battles.
Yet maintaining this incredible artistic output and business acumen, building a financial legacy through publishing that continues to generate hundreds of millions long after his death.
It truly is a life of extremes. Extreme talent, fame, wealth, scrutiny, and perhaps extreme isolation, too.
A very potent mix.
Which leaves us and you, the listener, with this final provocative thought. The sources we've examined show Michael Jackson being scientifically studied, his fame compared to historical titans like Napoleon, even religious figures like Jesus Christ. He was officially the most successful entertainer of all time. What does it tell us about our modern global culture? That arguably the most famous person of the late 20th century, someone living under constant, agonizing surveillance, focused so much of his most popular, globally consumed art on themes of paranoia, persecution, media harassment, and a deep longing to simply be left alone.
The biggest star in the world often sounded like he most wanted to escape that world. It's a powerful contradiction to ponder.